Good afternoon, everybody. I really hope you're well. So I've got the opportunity to be able to film this Fitness Pilates instructor help video today, all about arthritis in the hands, so that this could hopefully help your clients. Now, obviously, I know every single client is different and arthritis severity changes from person to person. So there may be stuff that you can take away from this. There may be stuff that you'll look at and you'll think that won't be right for my clients. So obviously you're the only one who knows your clients and you know kind of how severe their arthritis might be in the hands. It's a problematic area because it does affect quite generally. Arthritis affects the joints that have been used a lot. So for instance, in kind of people who've played sport, they will often have arthritis in later life in their knees or within their hips, especially if that sport involved a lot of running or, a lot of movement, squatting down, that kind of thing. So generally, with regards to arthritis in the hands, if that client has been very manual with their hands in their earlier life, generally then arthritis can come into the hands. It's normally like a repetitive strain syndrome as a bit of an aftermath symptom from here. So you can kind of take from this what you need to. Obviously, ask me as many questions as you need to with regards to the arthritis. The other thing as well is think about what else you could maybe help them with their lifestyle that might be able to be beneficial. So definitely arthritis symptoms can also be made a lot better with certain diet, lifestyle implications. So if you put different things in to the body, it can help to reduce inflammation within the joints, inflammation within the body, reduce swelling, things like that. So from the perspective of diet, if we think about things like ginger, if we think about things like turmeric, these are incredibly super for arthritis, reducing the symptoms. And also maybe a vitamin D spray, because vitamin D deficiency, and it's very, very prevalent in the UK because obviously we do not get enough sunshine, has the same symptoms as arthritis. So sometimes somebody can go to their GP with arthritic symptoms, and they may be given medication or even a series of physiotherapy when actually what they're missing is vitamin D. And if they were actually to be given a vitamin D supplement, the symptoms would actually be a lot better. So increase vitamin D. I recommend a spray that you just spray inside the mouth rather than have to take a tablet form. Anything where you have to take a tablet, you've got to, digest it. It takes longer to get into the system. So definitely maybe a vitamin D spray. And then also adding in ginger and turmeric into the diet as much as possible to help with inflammation. Okay, so a couple of things then. Obviously, we want to make sure that the hands can get really nice and warm. And there's a series of different things that you can do depending on comfort for your clients. So these are all my kind of warm-up hand exercises. And then I'm going to also show you some stuff you can do with spiky ball and the balance pods to help as well release trigger points within the hands, which also may be causing someone's movement to be restricted, pain in the hands, which again might not be arthritis, but they are just assuming it would be because maybe they have got arthritis, but actually it might be trigger points that are causing that pain, that discomfort, that lack of flexibility. So first of all, we want to get the hands nice and warm, the wrists nice and warm. So depending on what their mobility is, I would definitely think about mobilizing through the wrists into rotations. You could also add, maybe index finger and thumb together, middle finger and thumb together, ring finger and thumb together, and then little finger and thumb together, and then rotate the other way. Do that in both directions to help again with a little bit of movement in here. We could also take the hands together and then press, so push the palms together and then spread those fingers as wide as possible. Holding the hands together and rotating. So nice big rotations round action, press hands to the top of the, be aware of how that feels as you move. Jazz hands, so again, spreading the hands as wide as you can and then crunching through into a fist can help to get the hands really nice and warm, the wrists really nice and warm as well. And then if you're using a spiky ball or you're using a a balance pod, we can do some trigger point release stuff. So this, again, you could use the spiky ball maybe in between the hands and get a little bit of trigger point release into those hands, into those fingers as much as possible. Problem with trigger point, and I've spoke about this before, what trigger points are. Trigger points essentially are a tightness within the muscle fibers. They can happen everywhere, anywhere in the body. And when you have trigger points, then essentially it causes a lack of flexibility in other areas or a lack of strength in other areas and pain. So we want to try and maybe use the spiky ball. You can use it into one hand, both hands, to get that release going on there. This could also be done against a wall with the hands, or it could be done when you come down into the floor, and you could use it on the floor as well here, rolling through into the hands, however they can. With the balance pods, you could literally just grip the balance pod or just add a little bit of compression here. So the balance pods can be really good because they've got the trigger point release work on one side, but also if someone is really struggling to put their hands on the floor flat because of their arthritis, if you turn the pod over, you could almost use it as a little bit of a cushion. Because they've got air in them, that's going to help to cushion the actual wrists and the hands, and that might feel much more comfortable. So you could maybe do some all four work here, things like thread like a needle. That hand could be just on the balance pod rather than on the floor. That might be much more comfortable. You could also do it the other way as well to get the trigger point happening within the hands. So again, you could lift and lower from here to your thread like a needle, or we could do our Superman with the hands on the balance pods, again getting a little bit of trigger point release work. Or if you turned those over and you were using it this way, again that helps to cushion the wrist. That can be a bit of a game changer for many people who are really struggling with regards to their hands, helping to get them lovely and warm as well. So that could be used as an alternative option and also getting the hands really nice and warm. So various things can happen and exercises can be affected. With some clients, on all fours, hand position can be really uncomfortable. So what we might have to do is actually elevate the hands off the floor. Now, depending on whether or not your client can actually hold on to weights, they might prefer to actually have the hands off the floor here. They don't have to lift the weight, they could just use it. So that might be more comfortable for them. Elevated off. Again, that could be done for your thread like a needle as well. On all fours, that might be more comfortable. Also for your push-ups, that might be more comfortable as well. If they can't actually put their hands onto the floor, then we might need to think about different variations. So for instance, your thread like a needle could absolutely be done standing. So bringing that through onto all fours, hand here, and then coming into that thread like a needle, much more comfortable for anyone who can't put their hands on the floor. So do it in a standing version. Your Superman definitely could come down to the floor. So bringing them all the way and then lifting opposite arm to leg into our kind of conventional swimming exercise. If laying on the front was uncomfortable, they could come down on their elbows and they could do their swimming here. And that might feel more comfortable as another alternative. if you're thinking about push-ups, we might have to actually change the exercise completely. Still working the same muscles. So with a push-up, you've got a core element from it. You've also, because you're kind of in a plank position, you're working through the chest, you're working through the triceps. So a couple of different things that you could do. You could either use a band into the hands, take this back behind, laying them down in the floor. So now there's absolutely no pressure. Holding on to the bands if that feels comfortable. Lifting the legs up so that you get the core element. You could do that with a leg slide or a tap down. You could advance that by taking weights, as long as that felt comfortable in the hands. You could bring that through there. Now, if that wasn't comfortable to actually hold, and there are some people who will have severe arthritis and they just won't be able to hold anything, not a band, not a weight, anything. That client really needs to get themselves some little wrist weights. So if they can get the little wrist weights, like they can go around your ankle, they can go around the wrist. They are so good, so versatile. Pop them round, then the hands are completely free. So they'll have their little wrist weights around their hands, and then they can just let those hands be free and they can be there. If laying on their back was an issue, nothing to do with their arthritis, but they might just find that's uncomfortable, they could also do that seated, propped up with a ball. So you've still got that core element with the little wrist weights around their wrists into their chest press here, or even into a pec fly. That's another option. They could also use the band and the weights in that position as well. So if they can hold on in that seated position, you could do a pec fly, you could do the chest press. And again, that could be done with the hand weights as long as that felt comfortable in their hands. Absolutely, you could. Sometimes the long loop band can be more comfortable around the hands instead of actually trying to hold on to like a Dynaband. And that's because if you take that back behind, we could actually just loop it around the thumbs and you could use that there. That might be more comfortable as another option as well. Now, some clients just might not be able to work through their upper body with holding onto a band or holding onto any weights. As another alternative to weights, working through the arms, which aren't going to affect their hands, could be that we work with the activation band. So the activation band coming around the forearms, and again, you could do like little squeezes, retraction, working through their upper back, working through their shoulders. That could come up. It's not on any joints. We're not going too close to the elbows. We're not going too close to the wrists. Up above the head, you might find that that feels good. That feels quite strong there, to work through their shoulders, to work through their upper back muscles, to work the triceps. We could take it back behind us, around the forearms. And then again, they could either do like a tricep extension or a straight arm kick back. Palms either can go in or palms away, whatever feels more comfortable. So we can start to activate through the triceps without having to actually hold on to a band or hold on to a weight. That could be really beneficial as well. And if they could put their hands on the floor, but the whole pressing motion isn't comfortable, then absolutely you could put the activation band around the back of the triceps and just load the upper body here. Whether or not the hands can be flat or you want to go onto knuckles, that's fine. And then just start to load by lifting the legs. So you're getting a little bit of work coming through here, through the arms, but without having to kind of press down into that push-up position. So again, that might be more comfortable. You could also do your push-ups with the balance pods. Either way, that feels comfortable in the hands for your clients. And again, we could think about using the ball, hands onto the ball. These can feel really nice and comfortable because the ball's quite squishy. So obviously, again, there's that air factor, which helps to kind of make the hands feel a bit more comfortable. And we could push in. So we can do little chest squeezes to work those triceps, to work those pectorals. But again, without having to push the hands onto the floor and being in a much more comfortable position. You could also take that above the head to work the shoulders. You could take it back behind to work the triceps, which again could be a great alternative. So there is so much that you can do. You don't have to think about, oh my gosh, this client can't come down to the floor. They can't take their weight. Absolutely. We can give so many variations for those clients who are really struggling with regards to their arthritis in the hands. The trigger point release work will help them massively. Movement generally does help. However, with arthritis, we would never exercise during a flare up. So, and that's for anywhere in the body, but especially within the hands. So if somebody has come to you and they come to your class and they are experiencing a flare up, and what I mean by that, are very swollen, they're very red, they're very warm to touch, very painful. There is 0 point that person actually trying to do anything. What they need to do is go home. They need to rest. They need to, reduce any movement to help, again, to reduce the swelling down. Maybe think about taking some anti-inflammatories or upping those natural anti-inflammatories like ginger and turmeric, which might be beneficial, but definitely rest. So you never exercise during a flare-up. All of these alternatives could absolutely be used for your client if they are experiencing a flare-up. They just need some modifications to help them with their condition. So I hope that's helped, gang. Please let me know if there's any questions at all. Otherwise, I'll be doing the next Fitness Pilates mentoring instructor video in just a moment, and that's all about breath.